Good morning, everyone. Normally I would do an impromptu video at my son's place, but I've been doing those too much, and so I've got to stay with my Bible verses. You don't want to just hear me talk. I've got to give you something to help you remember this stuff. So we got Bible verses today. The title for today is God Will Never Give Up on You. And there are examples in the Bible, and we're going to look at one today. Jacob. We're going to see a little bit about what Jacob was like and why God still chose to be with him and to help him. It's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Isaac and Rebekah have a baby in their old age. But not just one. Hang on, we'll get to that. So, he always tried to game the system. Why follow the rules if you can kind of sneak in around them? That was Jacob. Okay, so Jacob was born, again, like I said, to Isaac and Rebekah, and he stole the birthright. He legitimately traded for it because Esau didn't care, his brother. But he shouldn't have done that. He married 2 wives and had 12 sons and a daughter, and Jacob wrestled with God. God changed his name to Israel. And we're going to see what all that means here. From the Hebrew, Yaakov, remember, we call it Jacob, that's Greek. There's no J in Hebrew, there's a Y. Yaakov. And B and V are the same letter minus a dot. So it can mean to follow behind, to come in second, but it can also mean to supplant or overreach. And that's what applies to him. He would basically get his way, one way or the other. And Israel can mean one who prevails with God. Israel, the EL on the end is God. Okay, so turn with me to Genesis. We're going to look back at this story and kind of see a little bit about Jacob before we get into this. 25:21. Now, Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. But the children struggled together within her, the children, plural. And she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire to the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. There's the prediction. So she knows what's going on, because God told her. So when her days were fulfilled, she gave birth. Indeed, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called him name Esau. Esau just basically means, it's a variation of red. We'll see later on there's another word for it. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand. He took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Our ranger finally got here. He had lunch with his son today, so he didn't come in the morning. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. I relate to Jacob. Every time I look away, the light is just so bright out there. It's still overcast, but it is bright. So I don't light up my face as well. I've got a light right here, but if I turn it up bright enough to counteract God's light behind me, I'll be blinded. Okay. In 25:28, Isaac loved Esau because he ate his game. Okay. But Rebekah loved Jacob because she knew the truth. In 29, now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with some of that red stew, for I am weary." Therefore his name was called Edom. Edom is red. We'd have to go back and look at the individual words to see the difference between Esau and Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright as of this day." And Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die, so what is this birthright to me?" He needed a meal. Is that all he needed? He didn't care for his birthright. He didn't believe in it. He was the elder. He was supposed to get the birthright. And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave him bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose, and went away. Yes, Esau despised his birthright. Okay, so that's the reason for the contention between the two. And you can read the rest of the story later on. He tricks his father for the blessing and things like that. There's conspiracy going on here, and the wife is involved. Go back and read the story. Okay, we're going to jump to 32:22. Now, he is getting ready to go home. Jacob is, because he was told to go home. He's taken his wives, his family, and everything, and they're packing up, and they're moving home. But he's afraid of Esau. Last time they met, they were butting heads, and he was afraid to go. So he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, his 11 sons, and crossed over the fork of Jabbok. He took them, set them over the brook, and then sent over what he had. So he's not going with them. He's kind of just sending them ahead. He's been sending care packages, gifts to Esau ahead of this. Send him oxen and sheep and all kinds of stuff in hopes to bribe him. And then he finds out he's coming with 400 men. He wasn't coming to attack him, but this is Jacob's mindset. He didn't know that. And then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now, it doesn't say that it's God. It doesn't say that it's an angel precisely here, but that's essentially what it was. And when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he had that out of joint socket the rest of his life. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." This man, angel. But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." This is someone that, when Jesus is talking about them in the future, he refers to the founding fathers as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob is the father of the 12. He's in the lineage. God wasn't so much concerned about what he was, but what he was going to become. So whatever your problem is that you've been dealing with in life, whatever you've dealt with from a personal level without God, just hand it to Jesus and go on. He doesn't care as long as you're repentant. If you're holding on to it, he cares. But if you're giving it up, he's fine. He's enabling us to do whatever we need to do and to do it with him. He loved us before he died for us. He loved us in the beginning when this whole timeline was set out. He knew all about you and your life and what you're doing with it. Are you doing enough for God? We're in the end times. There's no time to say, well, I'm going to put that off until I've gotten everything I want down here. There's no time for that. Find a way to be actively involved. I mean, if you still got to have a job to survive and pay your bills, that's not a problem. But find time for God. You have to get up in the morning. If you sleep 8 hours, there's still plenty of time because you only have to work typically 8 hours. Add another hour or two for commute, 10 hours, that's 18 hours. There's 24 hours in a day, people. There's no reason you can't. Now, if you turn on the tube and you watch videos, if you do other things that take you away from God, that's a problem. Now, you got to have time with the family. That's okay. God understands. Once you raise your family, you don't have an excuse for that. Find more time to God. Whatever you're giving him now, double it. It still won't be enough, but he'd be satisfied if you do anything to improve the situation. The world has to be warned. The rapture is closer today than it was yesterday, but I can't tell you when it's going to happen. My guess is it could easily be this year. We're about ready to enact the remainder of the prerequisites for the tribulation. There really are no prerequisites for rapture. But for the tribulation, the harlot and the beast have to get the world set up so he can take over. And that is almost done. They could implement digital currency today. They got to have a reason, because they know most people won't buy into it. That means they got to collapse the dollar. That won't be good short term. I've told you to prep. You don't have to survive a long time. We're not going to be down here long. It's going to move very fast. Once the starting gun goes, it's a sprint. It is not a long race to the tribulation. Have all your affairs in order. Have paperwork documenting what you want done with your stuff. You're not going to be here. If you've got a lot, put it in trust. Pay for the attorney up front. Otherwise, the attorney will get more of your money than you want. Common sense things here, people. God will come after you. He'll send somebody to wrestle with you if need be, to get you to knock it off. Stop making excuses. Stop looking for a way to cheat the system, like Jacob. All right. Barry Oz got a new video up, so go look for it. We're in the month of Yule. And we're in the month of the Revelation 12 sign. It's going to be interesting. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. Look at all that. There's not even a way to get through to the other part of the lake. And you can walk out across that water. That water is no more than 8-10 inches deep at the deepest. Not going to be a lake left here soon. It's shallow enough, though, that there's no cars or bodies in it. That's the good part. Have a blessed day, everybody.